my vocals, we gotta make sure it's not clipping. And we still gotta hear it. So I normalize every take I lay down. And it's important to make sure each take that you have a good take before even mixing it. So, but it is a good vocal take. I just have it too loud. So make sure normalize every take. There's a setting you should have on each DAW that says normalize audio. That is important, man. You gotta do it. Make sure it's not clipping. Clipping is the battle I feel like every person usually has. Because sometimes something's really good, but there's some, because since I laid down the vocals and everything, there might be some other instrument that is louder than the others. And that's the other thing, is balancing every single take that you laid down. Every instrument and all that, and make it sound like it's blended together. So none of them is dominating the other tracks. I record through a Harbinger Vari speaker, and it's super overpowered. It helps that it has an EQ with the bass and the treble and the input, which is great for mixing. And I just use a simple audio interface. It can be overpowering, like just listen, man. When I'm recording, I use a direct box, which is plugged into the audio interface, which gives this thing power. That is important. Make sure you have a condenser mic cord when you get these type of direct boxes. This is the one I got. It's a PYLE PDC-21. And what I do is I play all my instruments through the amp. Plug into your amp like normal, but make sure you have an output or a headphone jack, which I do right there. And what I do with that aux cord, which is plugged into the amp and the headphone jack, I plug it straight into this, which helps establish the cleanest tones and gets rid of unwanted noise. That's how I record all my instruments. My final technique of how I achieve my sound is I usually make sure I'm on these white grids. I'm usually in time. It helps with achieving a good tempo, which the tempo is 4/450. Making sure that you're on that helps establish good pitch, good rhythm, a groove where people can dance along to. It's super important when recording music anyways, just being in time. What I also do is I make sure I have an EQ on each individual track, because each take I lay down, I make sure it sounds good already. But then there's some times where I'm like, I could even make this more cleaner, or more where it sounds better with the other instruments. It sounds more balanced. This drum track, I made sure you can hear the snare. The snare is super important. It's a super good signal for me to be on time when I'm hitting the snare on time. The snare to me is really important. There's sometimes where I do crazy techniques, but really I think of the other stuff as a snare. The snare to me, I've been obsessed with that. But anyways, sometimes you might want the bass a little louder on the drums, which I did. I wanted the bass pedals where you can hear it. This is the bass right here, the low end, and I wanted that little high, and the middle, I wanted that little high. The other stuff was already pretty strong, so I didn't need to do that. The last thing I do is I make sure I have a limiter on, so I don't have to worry about clipping. And even if it does, when you have it on, it's so easy to figure out what is clipping, and it helps mixing and just balancing audio, even to a point where it's just super easy. That's why I love using the limiter. I always use it. And I make sure I have an EQ that runs over everything, and all the tracks together had a little too much bass. So what I did was I nerfed the bass. So what I do on the main channel is just I nerf unwanted noise. Then sometimes there's noise where I do want louder, or notes that I want to peak out more, so I just turn them up. But really I didn't have to do that. That's what I do. I nerfed the bass, and that helped establish where clipping was not a problem, because over the main channel, I just told you, I use a limiter, and that just made my life easier to take any clipping in the song. That's pretty much it, guys. That's how I record music.